PlayStation Plus has been revamped. There are many different takes on this, and I'll be giving you mine today. There's a lot of talk in some of the circles that I frequent about the cloud aspect of the service. Now, I'm a cloud gaming enthusiast. I'm not solely a cloud gamer, because right now there are too many compromises to be made. Every cloud service has some huge drawbacks that prevent me from leaving the world of traditional hardware just yet. Now, some people in those circles have been maybe overly anticipating the new PlayStation Plus subscription service and the cloud aspect of it. Others still have been bigging it up as the PlayStation answer to Gamepass. Others still have just been writing it off because it won't come with day and date first-party releases. Personally, however, I want to try and see it for what it actually is, what it provides, what it offers. So welcome everybody, my name is Doragon and these are my initial thoughts on the relaunch of PlayStation Plus. What is this relaunch? In the simplest term, it is a consolidation of Sony's gaming subscription services. PlayStation Plus was their basic subscription service that was required for online play from the PS4 onwards. It also brought cloud saves and automatic backups with it, along with inclusive games for play every month. Rarely are these games brand new, though that has been much more common since the launch of the PlayStation 5, but for £39 a year when it first launched, and £49 a year now, you got a lot of game time if you weren't bothered about having the latest titles on your console. PS Now was their other service. It was the first mainstream cloud gaming service on the market, and by the start of 2022 offered over 700 titles for play on the cloud. This was available on PlayStation 8th and 9th gen consoles and PC, though had been available to a much wider device selection at launch, including Blu-ray players, smart TVs, Vita and PS3. This relaunch in June 2022 brings those two services together and makes some minor adjustments to the setup and costs. If you were to buy both PS Now and PS Plus prior to the revamp, you would pay £100 a year for the services. They could, however, be acquired cheaper if you managed to get sale prices on one or both aspects, and you could stack annual subscriptions at those sales if you so fancied. Within this relaunch, that top price hasn't changed. To get the whole shebang costs the exact same price as having both services did pre-revamp. But now, you also get classic PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2 and PlayStation Portable titles, either on the cloud or via a download, and they come with trophy support. There's also a range of PS5 titles available, including multiple Game of the Year winners, though for now, these are only playable as a download on the PS5 console. The available library has grown and reshaped with this launch, with the likes of Persona 5 no longer being available, but over 800 titles being available across all genres and generations. A huge value addition for the same price as you were paying for Now and Plus pre-revamp. This setup is now called PS Plus Premium, but there are two other tiers if you don't want to pay that much per year. They are Essential and Extra. Essential is what we have known as PS Plus up to this point at £49 per year. For that same price, you get the same cloud saves, online play, automatic backups and inclusive games that you have previously. Since the launch of the PS5, users have been used to getting 3 games per month in this service, 2 for PS4 and 1 for PS5. As we leave that generational transition period and move fully into the PS5 era, this is going back to the 2 games per month with Essential. This is the exact same thing as we experienced with the transition from the PlayStation 3 to the PlayStation 4. Having gone through that transition previously, I am okay with this setup, but I do understand people's grumbles about it. Extra gives you everything from the Essential tier, along with a library of PS4 and PS5 games that you can download and play at any time, numbering around 400 and set to grow every month. For £83.99, you get instant access to a huge library of games from the last 2 generations of PlayStation consoles, as well as online play, cloud saves, automatic backups, and inclusive additional games. That is the Revamp in its simplest terms. How does it hold up? Pretty well, actually. But I suppose that does depend on your expectations coming in. Having been a customer of both PS Plus and PS Now for the last couple of years, I knew how good both services were. But I also knew their pitfalls. Not much of that changes with this revamp. Instead, it is a consolidation of the existing services to put groundwork and framework in place for advancement down the line. So, what are the strengths of the service now? There are many. And a single annual bill rather than 2 at varying prices year on year depending on sales is such an adult way of looking at it. But that matters to those of us paying said bill. In line with that is its cost over a year. It is £100 for an annual membership at full price. That's £32 per year less than Gamepass Ultimate while offering very similar options. It's £7 less than Stadia Pro, which is more akin to the old PS Plus. It's £7 less than GeForce Now Priority, which doesn't come with any games. For that one bill at the lowest annual price of all operators, I get an inclusive library of over 800 games, and over-deliver on PlayStation's promise of up to 800 games. Okay, some titles are played to death like Siphon Filter, but that's being given new life with trophies on the service. Something that, for many people, really bolsters replays of older titles. I get the PS Plus inclusive games every month, and the day-and-date new releases that go directly into the extra tier, such as Stray in July 2022. I get access to online multiplayer, which many now forget that we all still pay for on every home console. I get automatic backups of my consoles. That's all of my PlayStation consoles. Cloud saves for all of my games. I get cloud gaming, which in terms of performance for me, has by far been the best on the market. Never have I experienced input lag, visual glitches, screen tearing or refreshes. Never has a game crashed on me on Wi-Fi or Ethernet, unlike my experiences with every other cloud gaming provider. It just works, and works flawlessly every single time that I use it. As well as gaming in the cloud, I can download all of the games in that inclusive library onto my console, barring the PS3 titles. It's quite a lot when you think about it. Now, a very personal positive for me is the quality of the games on PS Plus. More often than not, I find myself really liking the Sony first-party studios games. If you choose any particular year, more often than not, it'll be a PlayStation Studios game that is my favourite game of said year. Returnal in 2021, Ghost of Tsushima in 2020, Marvel's Spider-Man in 2018, Horizon Zero Dawn in 2017, and the trend does continue. That factor matters when choosing a gaming subscription service. You go to the library that best suits your wants and requirements. For me, with over 800 titles total and a fair chunk of the PlayStation first-party games that I love, I will happily subscribe to PS Plus Premium, just like you should subscribe to my channel. Go on, it'd make my day. There are, of course, negatives. This is true for every service. Let's start on that payment topic once more for the boring adults in the room. You can pay monthly for PS Plus. Now, like any other service such as Gamepass Ultimate, GeForce Now 3080, Stadia Pro, etc., that can be really handy for the odd month of use here and there. But that setup becomes quite a bit more expensive than the annual option if used all the time, so it's not recommended for long-term use. But it may be the only way that folks are able to pay for it at all, simply due to the flow of their finances. They are therefore being further punished financially with this pricing for factors totally outside of their control. This next one is a minor thing, but worth noting considering the absolute pasting Stadia got for the exact same thing. PS Plus's PC app has no search bar. The only way you can get to a game is to trawl through the lists. It's not the end of the world, as a mouse makes that much easier than a controller, but surely in 2022, a search bar is one of the absolute basics to put in an app such as this. Next, cloud gaming has incredibly limited availability, Now don't get me wrong, it is going toe-to-toe with Stadia's and Nvidia's amazing tech in terms of performance and stability, trading blows and definitely one of the more pinnacle experiences in cloud gaming. But it's only available on 3 devices: the PlayStation 4, the PlayStation 5, and Windows PCs. There's no mobile application, no Mac or Linux support, nothing for TVs or other smart devices, just those 3. Now, it can be slightly circumvented with the Remote Play application on a phone and downloading the game that you want to play onto the console's SSD, or by using a mobile Windows device like the Air Neo. But either option is not as seamless or as easy as native cloud gaming, and they are subject to a few more external factors such as dual internet connections and even more hardware. When coupled with it only being available in North America, Europe and Japan, granted that's 3 global regions like many of its competitors, it's still not enough for more than 500 million PlayStation users worldwide. Then, there are the available games. Now, don't get me wrong, the catalogue is strong and very likeable in my opinion. Speaking of likeable, a like of this video would help the channel out massively. As I said, I've been a PS Now customer for a couple of years, and have recently been enjoying the original God of War titles and the infamous games from the PS3 era on PS Now. But they're all conspicuously absent from the service since the relaunch. Or at least, you could think they are if you only access the titled games catalogues from the homepage. In those catalogues, we have God of War Ascension as seen as this overlaid footage, a PS3 title, but otherwise in that series we only have the PS4 games, God of War 3 Remastered and 2018's sequel God of War. If you're only going by the catalogue, it would say we're missing Chains of Olympus, Ghost of Sparta, God of War 1 and God of War 2. All massive first-party titles, and all of which I was able to play on the 22nd of June 2022 via the cloud, but seemingly not on the 23rd of June 2022. The same is true for the infamous series. The PS3 titles of 1, 2 and Festival of Blood are missing from the list, but Second Son and First Light are available. If you go searching for these titles though, most are still available to play via the cloud. They're just not in the Games or Classics list for some reason. However, Chains of Olympus and Ghost of Sparta are no longer available on the service at all. It's a weird situation. These are some of the biggest and best first-party studios games on the service, but finding them isn't as easy as on competitors like Gamepass or Stadia, and a couple are actually missing. Is it because we're likely getting the original PSP releases in the Classics catalogue down the line? Personally, I'd prefer the upscaled PS3 versions of the God of War series. They play better on console and cloud. Are they adding some new flair to these titles, like higher frame rates that require them to be pulled from the service for now? While infamous Second Son has this, I think that might be a pipe dream for the PS3 and PSP titles, and the PS3 remasters will be added back in time. To be missing some of Sony's best games, to have some of the best almost hidden from view, points to a negative user interface and experience. It doesn't detract from the overall experience for me, and I wouldn't have thought twice about this had I not been a PS Now customer previously. But to have a list of games on the home screen without all of the available games in said list is at best poor design. There are a couple of other nitpicks that people have with the service that I want to address, as to me, they walk that line of being both positive and negative. A big one that people put out there, that they also use against Remote Play and Steam Link when comparing them to cloud services as well, is the cost of entry. Oh, you need a $500 console for this? Well, yes, you do. But isn't that also the case for Gamepass Ultimate, GeForce Now, Stadia Pro, Steam, and so on? All of these services need specific hardware that they can be played on. I play Stadia on my phone as an example. A £1,500 device. That's more than 3 times the cost of a PlayStation 5. But no one begrudges me that cost of entry. A friend of mine uses his PC to access Gamepass and xCloud. It's a machine that cost him more than £3,000, over 6 times the price of a PS5. He also has a £450 Series X for use with Game Pass. But no one begrudges him either of those costs. So why is it an argument against PS Plus? I know where people are coming from when they say this. They don't want to buy new hardware just to get one specific service. But by that same token, most people looking at PlayStation Plus already have a PS4 or 5. There's over 500 million of them worldwide after all. If you don't own a PlayStation, but you do own a PC, and are in a region where cloud gaming is available for PlayStation, you can play on your existing PC, no additional hardware required. Do I wish there were wider device compatibility? Yes. Do I wish there were an Android and iOS application similar to xCloud? Of course I do. I love gaming on the go and adore my PlayStation titles. I have clips for my controllers already that I use with Remote Play. I'm ready to go. But Sony aren't right now. But that doesn't mean that they won't be in the future. There are already patents for a cloud gaming Android app for them. And don't forget that it took xCloud 3 years to offer cloud games on mobile in an elongated beta test. The service works on the devices I'm most likely to use it on regularly. And that's good by me. For now, while I wait for Plus to expand, I can play these games on the devices that I already own. Even on the said same PS4 that has been under my TV for 8 years. That's a very cheap cost of entry when I'm using a device I have owned for nearly a decade at this point. Their second nitpick is day and date first-party releases. I get why people want this, because Xbox does it. But there are arguments to not do that. Jim Ryan, the questionable head of PlayStation, put a statement out into the world saying that, in terms of putting our own games into the service upon their release, this is not a road that we've gone down in the past. And it's not a road that we're going to go down in this new service. We feel if we were to do that with the games that we make at PlayStation Studios, the level of investment that we need to make in our studios would not be possible, and the knock-on effect on the quality of the games that we make would not be something that gamers want. I actually really agree with that comment. Sony doesn't have the money that Microsoft does, so they can't lose the quantities that Microsoft do on Gamepass and still operate as they currently operate. Simple cash flow explains that one to you. But if I take it a slight step further and look at, say, Halo Infinite and Starfield, I realise one isn't out yet, but the conversation around it backs up my point. The quality just isn't there. While Halo looks pretty, the story and world are sparse and boring. Updates take 6 months or more to roll out, and pre-release promised features are still not in the game over 2 years after their announcement, and appear to be coming with massive caveats in terms of co-op play. But over 20 million people have picked up and played the game because it is included in Gamepass. Starfield had gameplay unveiled during the Xbox Bethesda showcase as part of the Summer Games Fest 2022. That gameplay had major frame rate issues, copy-paste identity crisis, and NPCs from the beginning of the 8th generation. But as one commenter put it on Twitter, who cares? It's on Game Pass anyway. I'm gonna play it. And it's a valid point. If you're a Game Pass customer, you're already paying a subscription fee that the game is included in. Why not at least try it? But then that raises the question, why would a developer bother to put extra effort in and increase the quality when they're guaranteed 20 million players by launching on a particular service anyway? The sensible money says they wouldn't. And when that developer is Bethesda, who've always had buggy and lower quality titles, it compounds the situation. So it becomes a case of quality or quantity. And neither side of that discussion is wrong. Some people just want to play a multitude of games. Some just want the best that they can get their hands on. We now have those two ethoses being provided from two competing companies that allow you to do either or both of those options. But it's not like the Sony first-party games don't come to the platform. Marvel's Spider-Man and Miles Morales are on the service, as is Ghost of Tsushima Director's Cut, Death Stranding Director's Cut, Returnal, Demon's Souls, God of War, Infamous, and the list goes on. PS Plus is more akin to Marvel Unlimited than Game Pass in that regard. A service where you get access to a massive catalogue of Marvel comics, just not the brand new releases. They appear roughly 9 months later. For PS Plus, 12 to 24 months later, and that first-party game is then included in the service. In the meantime, you have over 800 other games to be playing. Does it change the game? I'd like to hear your thoughts on this question, and which tier of Plus you'd go for if you haven't already. so hit me up in the comments section below afterwards. For my answer, well, it's only been out in the wild here in the UK for a few days, but my impressions so far are both yes and no. When you see the service compared to other gaming subscriptions, it's pretty much par for course. It offers much of the same as its closest competitors: online play, an inclusive game catalogue, additional redeemable games per month, cloud streaming, and so on. Gamepass offers that. Stadia Pro offers that. So it's not really reshaping the wheel in that regard. But it has over-delivered on the quantity of games in my region, my personal perception of it having higher quality games, the ease of access with the games just being in an alphabetical list directly on your console's home screen, the excellent and flawless cloud streaming, the lower cost than competitors. It starts to breed some much-needed competition into this space. We've seen the positives that competition breeds in many areas previously. More recently, look at the video streaming services. The quality and quantity of original and curated content has had to increase across the board there. Netflix are worried about Disney's rise, who are worried about Prime Video and their quality originals. Crunchyroll has carved an ever-growing niche into an ultra-successful platform that is thus far unrivaled. Positive customer features implemented by one have had to be adopted or improved upon by the competition. User interfaces have had updates, adverts have been removed. Take note of that one, Netflix. Competition forces providers in this space to offer better services and products for the same costs, so that they can keep their market share and profits. That is always a positive for the customer. Now, we have that in the video game industry as well. Until this point, Gamepass has been pretty much unrivaled in gaming subscriptions. Sure, there are subscription options out there like Nintendo Switch's online expansion pass, Amazon's Luna, GeForce Now's Priority or 3080. But the costs for return of these services are out of balance. They can't compete with Game Pass as they only offer one of the aspects that Game Pass does. No one offered the generations, the genres, the exclusives and accessibility that Microsoft did at the cost that they did. Game Pass had a monopoly in that regard. But now, Sony are offering something very similar and definitely comparable. There are, of course, differences. There's no point copying the competition's product beat for beat and putting out the exact same thing, because how can you then exceed them? But that difference, the quantity and quality of the games and cloud streaming, should make Microsoft sit up and take note, because all three aspects, for me, are better than what Game Pass offers, despite the negatives I have mentioned throughout this video. So does it change the game? Well, it doesn't come in and pull the rug out from under the competition, but nor does it meekly hide in a corner just trying to survive. Despite a lack of a marketing push and fanfare at launch, PS Plus stands confidently as a positive competitor to Game Pass, looking it square in the eye. A bigger library, better cloud streaming and lower cost. Despite not having day-and-date releases of major first-party titles, Microsoft needs to respond to that. In that regard, PS Plus is already changing the game. But then Microsoft has wider availability, being on browsers, mobile apps, Mac, PC, Xbox consoles, and more, which means they are changing the game, and Sony needs to respond. Whichever way you look at it, the new PS Plus has arrived and shaken things up. It will change the game for everyone. It will compete with the current champ and force them to improve, which will then in turn force PlayStation Plus to improve. So yes, it does change the game. Maybe not in the drastic Game Pass killing ways tribalists were maybe looking for, but in competition, the game must always change before we get to the final shape. This is a good day to be a gamer. There are many ways to play. And finally, two of the big providers are playing at the same table and pushing each other further to win. The people who benefit from that the most? Well, that's the likes of you and I, the gamers. And we can only hope that others will also step up to that table. If you've enjoyed this content, then make sure to check out this video about ranking the cloud gaming services in 2022, or this one about turning your phone into a mobile PlayStation console. Otherwise, your viewership is more than enough for me. Thank you for tuning in today, guys. My name's Doragon, these are my thoughts on PlayStation Plus, and until next time, have yourselves a fantastic day, and take care.